Now, there's a disturbing trend that is permeating through the Russian youth culture, and Foreign Policy magazine, as well as some other publications that monitor social media usage in Russia, have noticed a marked increase in fascism amongst the youth in Russia. Now, Russia is experiencing a dramatic industrial decline, which is leading young people to undergo a profound transformation, particularly since the onset of the Russia Ukraine war in February of 2022. Previously, their world was similar to that of young adults globally, a blend of education, entertainment, socializing, and preparing for the future. The widespread use of smartphones and social media platforms like VK, which is Russia's equivalent to Facebook, characterized their digital lives. These platforms were once filled with personal milestones, holiday pictures, fashion trends, memes, discussions about pop culture, and all of this mirrored global youth culture we see everywhere. They were regulars at movie theaters that showed Hollywood blockbusters, but now they could only view pirated versions due to Western sanctions. And their dreams of moving to big cities to join the once burgeoning tech industry are shattered due to sanctions that are driving the Russian tech industry further and further behind the rest of the world. Now, the outbreak of the war marked a sharp pivot in their online and offline lives. The war's impact was swiftly reflected in their digital spaces. Many young Russians began aligning with government supported online groups, adopting and disseminating the state's narrative of the conflict. The content shared on their social media pages transformed from everyday teenage interests to aggressive Russian ultra-nationalist rhetoric and fake conspiracy theories about Ukraine and the West. These young individuals are no longer passive consumers of state propaganda where they roll their eyes at the latest news coming out of some of the mainstream media in Russia, but now they are active participants, echoing and amplifying the government's portrayal of Ukraine as a corrupt nation under Western influence, and that is evil. Their social media feeds are crowded with extreme nationalist content now, depicting Russia as besieged on all sides, fighting against a fabricated Nazi threat in Ukraine that is being fueled by the West. The narrative was supported by dramatic imagery and posts that framed Russia as a sacred land that is encircled by enemies, all of this created by the Kremlin itself. Now, the language used on these platforms evolved into a tool of aggression and hate. Derogatory terms for Ukrainians became commonplace. President Putin was often glorified as a divine savior, and there were questions arising as to whether an election is even necessary because Putin should be lifetime emperor. This shift from casual social media usage to active participation in nationalist propaganda marked a significant change in the psyche of the Russian youth. And this phenomenon is not limited to individual expressions, but reflected as a broader societal trend. The Runet, which is Russia's internet system, their Russian language internet, became a hotbed for ultranationalism and anti-Western sentiment, where young users continuously fuel each other's anger and nationalist fervor. There was a visible transformation from a diverse, globally aligned youth culture to one dominated by extreme nationalism, intense rage against perceived enemies, and unwavering support for the war. A lot of what would be the moderate youth have fled as well, so they are amplified within their own echo chamber. Now, this wave of extreme nationalism among the youth is a new development in the post-Soviet Russia. They haven't seen this before, not since the Soviet Union. Driven by a mix of state propaganda and the influence of this digital echo chamber, these young people are increasingly detached from Western cultural influences and more aligned with a vision of Russia pursuing divinely ordained goals. And much of this is fueled by bitter jealousy within the Russian youth, as they have seen the West's progress. They have seen how far the West has come in manufacturing and technology, while they, the Russian youth, are left behind. They no longer have access to the newest and best, instead resorting to knockoffs or the black market. But they don't resent Putin for putting their country in this position. They resent the West for reacting to Russia's aggression. One Russian youth posted in a conversation about the iPhone 15 not coming to Russia, saying, "Why does America care if Ukraine lives or dies? It's not their country. We are not attacking them. We wouldn't. No one would. This is well known. But Ukraine isn't America. It isn't a country. So why do they punish Russia if that is the case?" The Russia of 2022, as reflected in this youth culture, bears the hallmarks of 20th century fascism in Germany. There is a focus on militarization, a mission to reclaim lost territories, an air of unfairness, and a drive to eliminate perceived racial enemies. This resurgence of fascist ideology is reinforced by a mix of historical narratives about the Great War and modern propaganda techniques, using social media as a key tool. The youth are being groomed to play a crucial role in what is presented as Russia's historical mission. This preparation happens through education, media, state-run youth programs. Does that sound familiar? Do you remember the Hitler youth programs? They embed this belief in the paradox of war being essential for peace. The transition in the lives of young Russians since the beginning of the Russia-Ukraine conflict is profound, and unfortunately it is very real. It highlights a significant shift in Russian society where state-driven nationalist propaganda, amplified through social media and popular culture, is fostering a resurgence of fascist ideologies among the youth. The transformation underscores the powerful impact of the state narrative on shaping societal beliefs, particularly among a younger generation that now would be devastated if their country not only suffered the embarrassment of the sanctions and not having the best anymore, but also a loss in the wars.